Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel for me, current Farmer Murphy. Before I turn you over to past Farmer Murphy for the final episode, I just want to let you know this episode is a little bit longer, but the last 15 minutes or so is just more of a detailed wrap up that some of you may not be interested in, so feel free to skip that if you want. But now, over to the past, Farmer Murphy, for the final episode here on Calmsden Farm. Well, there, that field's done. So we got just under 18,000 liters. Now if we take a look here, oops, in our production, we can see that we already have 1,700 liters of mineral feed. So if we look at the TMR recipe, that 18,000 liters of soybeans will allow us to make just about 500,000 liters of TMR. So that's pretty good. And I think as far as the lime goes, we need equal amounts of lime and soybean. We will wait until we get the rock off and see how much we get. Now I have moved the harvester up to our cornfield, and I'm going to take our truck up. I don't think I'm going to pull the trailer with the truck this time, because I think we only need one truckload in our pig food production, and then the rest will go in our, oops, that's a tricky corner with that gate there. The rest goes into our silo, and it's difficult to back the, well, if we back the trailer in with the truck, we'd have to disconnect it to get the truck in. So I'll use the trailer separately. I'll cart it with a trailer and tractor. And I don't know if you guys caught the mistake I made on field 23, but I realized when I was thinking about the field prep on field 8, I forgot to mulch it. I went directly in after I harvested and plowed, so it didn't get mulched. So there'll be a small yield hit on that one next year. For field 8, we just need to mulch and lime because there's no need to plow after soybeans. So that won't take too long, and I'll get a worker going on here, and I'll take that. Tongue-tied. I'll get that taken care of. There we go. And probably get onto the rock picking too on our field 23 as well. Well, a worker works on our corn harvest here. Now, we didn't upgrade the header. This is the same header we used on our other combine. It has the advantage that it mulches as it harvests, so I won't forget it on this field. Oops, missed a little bit there.
pretty good sized field. This is going to take us some time for sure. Although this is a little narrower header, only 9 meters, it does run a little faster, so it's equivalent actually to an 11 meter header, a standard corn header, so you're not giving up too much. And you gain, like I said, the mulching, so. That tree is in a rather unhandy place. Like I said earlier, the first truckload will go into our pig food production, and I'll get that on the go. I can't remember if it's 1 or 2 truckloads, but I'll double check that, but we'll get pig food production going. My target was to make 200,000 liters for next year, which should be more than enough, I would think. Oh, I don't think I mentioned we had new bursts in the pigs as well. So I had to do the pig shuffle this morning. So that means we'll get a little bit more slurry and manure, because I brought 40 nearly adults, they're not quite adults, but nearly adults up into the pig barn. I think they're at 70% puberty, I believe. Ooh, I was worried we might get hung up on those trees, but we made them under them, no problem. Well, alright, I'm sure you guys got the idea. I am going to go around a couple times and then I'll get it squared up and let a worker go, and I'll get onto those field preps. And per usual, I'll bring you in for an update in a little bit, so catch up with you later. Well, I'm down here at the pig food production with the second truckload. This will give us enough corn here to make just a tiny bit over 200,000 liters. But the big surprise is that field is almost done. Maybe that's the second big surprise. Oh no, it should hold. Take all of that. Oh, I'm just a little far ahead. My mistake. Yeah, I don't even know if there's enough corn left on that field that will fill the truck up again, so I'll just bring whatever we have down here. That'll be something for the new farm operator to consider, because that field isn't going to support all the pigs. if the pens are totally full, I don't think. Although 200,000, to be fair, should be more than enough for what's going to happen this year. But in another, I think, month, we're going to have another 40 piglets. And it'll be only, what, 4 months after that, another 40, and 3 months later, another 40. So it's going to really fill up in a hurry. So something the new operator will have to consider. But that's what Farmer Murphy calls an SEP, someone else's problem. Anyways, I'm going to finish off that field. I did get field 8 prepped, and the rock picking is started on field 23, so we'll catch up with you in a little bit. I'm back with the last stones off our sugar beet and corn field, which completes the field prep for those 2 fields, except for the mulching on the sugar beet field, which I forgot. Another one of those SEPs we talked about. So if we take a look in our production here, we can see we have 43,000 liters of stone. I have kicked off the lime and mineral feed production, so we'll let that run overnight, and we'll kick off some more TMR in the morning. I've got hay and silage running, even though our silage is just about full, just to make sure we have enough room, because the last thing we need to do here on Calmsden Farm is all our grass work. All our grass fields should be ready. Now, if we run over here, I have our truck sitting here with the last corn off our cornfield. Basically, we got 2 full truck loads at 49,000, and this one here at just over 19. That means we got 117,000 liters. I thought we were going to get a lot more than that, but it's certainly more than enough for this year. We can kick our production off here. So yeah, see 117,000 liters. So there'll be a little corn left over because the other materials have just the exact amount they need. But we do have other lots of that left over, so if more needed to be made, could make a little bit more. But I'm going to get the equipment put away here for the night, and tomorrow morning do the chores, of course, and then get on to that grass work. Said all our fields should be ready, and that's the last job we have to do here on Calmsden. So we'll catch up with you in the morning. Well, good morning and welcome back to the farm. As you can see from our funds, I've done the chores this morning. I have also completed mowing all our grass, so I'm set up here to go and do the baling. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to get the baling done and the bales picked up off camera, and I'll meet you when that's done. So see you in a little bit. Well, there we are. Our grass work is done. We are now up to 1.7 million liters of grass in there from about 700,000. So we got a little over a million liters of grass off our fields. The fields have all been mulched and limed again, so they are good to go. And as the sun starts to set here on Calmsden Farm, so does our time here. That is a wrap. But I meant to mention earlier too, I did make it to 50 subscribers, so thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I think when I started Calmsden series, I was only at about 10, so I'm pretty happy about that. But we are going to move on. We have met all our objectives here. So if we take a look, we do have all the animals going. You can see we have 160 pigs, so you would say that they're a going concern. The pens obviously aren't full yet, but just a matter of time, and they would be. Chicken pen has been full for a while, 100 chickens in there. Um, we started with 10 sheep and we're up to 80 now. And we're at 105 cows. Now, I don't remember what we started off with the cows because we kind of did a staggered buy on those, as you recall, but they certainly have been increasing in number. And that pen only holds 150, so we're like 3/4 full on that. I think it was in year 2, we did buy, I think of 10 extra cows, maybe 15 tops, to add to our original allotment, but adult cows just to help with the milk production once we got our farm shop up and running. But other than that, that's been pretty much native growth. And if we take a look at the map, our original fields here were plot 6, 8, and 22. And then we had the secret field here. And then we had access to this land here by the garden center. And this behind the shop that we utilized. But then we've added, since then, field 5, field 43, field 11, or I should say plots, and plot 14 and 13. So we expanded the farmland as well, which was another goal. And lastly, well, we needed to get a debt. And if we take a look at that, we are. And our money is, got a pretty healthy total there to end this year off here on the farm. So I think that ticks off all the boxes. So if you stuck with me for the entire series, I really do appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. And I'll hope you'll come join me on the next one. And where is that, you may ask? Well, we're staying within the Commonwealth. We are going to Bloomfield and going to be farming in my backyard, so to speak. So I really hope you'll come and join me there. And if you enjoyed this series, tell your friends about it and have them come take a look, because we're going to do something, I think, quite different on Bloomfield. At least something I've never seen done before exactly the way I have it planned. So I hope you'll come check it out. And watch for the first episode to come shortly. Oh, the last thing I wanted to mention too was over 300 hours on this map. So to get what I think this is episode 25 or maybe 26. It's been recorded in chunks, I kind of forget, but in that magnitude anyways. And so that's what, like 12 to 13 hours of content. It took over 300 hours of map play to do it. So anyways, I hope to see you on Bloomfield, which will be starting shortly. So I encourage you to come check that out. And thanks again very much for joining me here. Now, for those of you who want a little bit more in-depth tour on the farm and want to check under the hood a little bit, so to speak, on the series, I'm going to carry on and do that. But if you're not interested in those nitty-gritty details, I'll just look forward to seeing you on Calmsden and say farewell for now. But for those of you who want a little more detailed look of what I did, what's changed, and what my thoughts are and what really worked well, and maybe what didn't, come along. And let's start actually down here at the farm production, our farm supply production. This we put this mod in year 2. Largely, we either had to do something like this or put in a multi-fruit silo to store our silage in that, because we were hitting the bale limit. We made 1,800 bales on our own fields and probably equal that doing contracts. So this was a fairly new mod at the time, so I opted for this, and we made good use of this. Now this mod, I think you could classify it as a bit cheaty depending on how you use it. Here, let's just go into it. If you look at some of the totals we have here, like We have like 1.7, almost 1.8 million liters of grass now because we just did the cut, 1.6 million liters of hay, 1.8 million liters of silage. And this is where you could really take advantage of it because it processes hay to or grass to silage pretty quickly, and it doesn't take long to store or amass a bunch of it. And we could have taken advantage of that because we certainly don't need all that silage to support either the cows or the BGA. I've been hauling about 30,000 liters a day out a year to keep the BGA going. But I chose not to sell the silage and just let it accumulate because of what we got going on down at the BGA. Money wise, I didn't think we needed to make a bunch of a bunch of money off of silage. So I just let it sit here and accumulate to the point where I had to haul silage out of here and sell rather than our fermenter we had down at the BGA just to keep it running. Um, we were making our own mineral feed in here, which you can see we don't have much of right now, but all the TMR we made we used mineral feed for. We were making our own lime from the stone, um, but it never could keep up. We didn't have enough stone, and it doesn't process that particularly fast. So I would haul lime in from time to time, and all the lime on our fields was purchased from up at the garden center. Soybeans we were using to make our mineral feed. Water, of course, we needed for our silage digestate mixture. Now that's one place where it's probably, could be considered a little cheaty because you add water when you make your silage and you get a bunch of digestate out. Now we could have really taken advantage of that, but I chose not to because we made our own liquid fertilizer from the digestate, but you can see it's a 10-to-1 ratio, and we do have a bit of, if we go down and look here at liquid fertilizer, we have 27,000 liters right now, but it barely kept up with our needs. And if we got a bunch of fertilizing contracts, it wouldn't have cut it. We would have had to buy some. But as it turned out, since we put this building in, we haven't needed to because I did that with the digestate. And I also made a little solid fertilizer, which again took some lime. And again, a 10-to-1 ratio. So it didn't make that particularly fast either. I would let this run up to about 10,000 liters and then sell it. And that was about every 3 months or so. And as you can see, we don't accumulate a ton of digestate. I have hauled about 30,000 liters out of here just recently to get us kind of over the hump, which I'll talk a little bit more when we get to the BGA. But you can see it doesn't store up a lot. But if you didn't use the digestate here internally and you put it in the dryer, which we'll talk about down at the BGA, the combination of these two, man, you could make a ton of money. But I didn't want to be too cheaty, so that's what I did with it. But we made good use of this building, and like I said, saved us from doing a multi-fruit silo. So a mod I really do like, and you could use it in a cheaty fashion, but I chose not to. So we were talking about the BGA, so let's run down there. Oh, you know what I wanted to do before we left here? We're going to take a quick look at the equipment and talk about what we did there. As you can recall, we added precision farming partway through. So that means we need to upgrade some of our equipment. And we did upsize our mulcher and our rock picker and our plow. We upgraded those. I don't think we ever upgraded the roller. I think we kept this. And no, we did upgrade the cultivator. We want to size up on there. If we come and look at, we had to upgrade our seeder because of precision planting to get a direct drill. I think this was our first planter, as I recall. So it was a direct drill we put in. Of course, we bought the truck and the sugar beet harvester, and there were a couple reasons I did that. One is you recall in year 2 the contracts all dried up and we were putting pigs in and we needed a root crop, and I was originally going to get it from doing contracts and the excess, but there were no contracts, so I had to do something there. And also we were, getting rapidly out of debt, and we had a long ways to go on the animals yet. So I decided to add to our debt, as you recall, to buy this and the sugar beet harvester. I didn't want to add the full price, the new price on these. Oh, I can't remember. It was like over $1 million, I think. So I came up with the idea of I brought some money in. I ran some hours running around in a circle out in the back field there behind the shop, kept them hidden away from camera, and then bought them as used, so we didn't have to, increase our debt too much. And I thought it added a little, level of interest at that time, because we hadn't got our horses in and we still needed our pigs. So that was my thinking there and why I decided to do that. And it was fun to use that big stuff, and it worked out pretty well. Like I said, the payback on it was really 2 years, because it was helpful that contracts came back in a big way in the 3rd year. This 8S here, that was an original tractor. That's been with us the entire time. I think it has like 70 hours on it, 73 hours. We had another 8S that was original tractor, the smallest version of it that we sold, traded off on the Fendt. We have the 7719 that we traded, I think, what was it, a Massey, 3670, the in-game one that we started with. And we traded up relatively early on for this. I believe this is about 220 horsepower, and it too has got like 70 hours, or just shy of 70 hours on it. And then, of course, we upgraded to the Fendt. And as I said, at the time I was thinking of doing the larger wheeled Massey, but I've been using the 9RTs on Angevin, and man, they were just so maneuverable. I thought it really would be a good tractor for this map, and it actually, while we didn't use it very much, it did work out really well. We added the lime spreader when we did precision farming, because we had to do a lot more liming, and that's our original trailer. So that's what we had for equipment. So we did some upgrades. We can't forget about the Fendt Massey too. That was a nice upgrade. That was used, actually. That one legitimate you used. And we traded this straight across for our case, which is the original piece of gear that came on the farm. We already had the corn header, but we were out. We had to spend the extra money to buy the larger cereal header or grain header for it, but that was a nice upgrade. And we put more hours on this than we had on the case, again, because the contracts came back. So that was really sweet. That was a good one. Oh, and our sprayer, can't forget, that was original. We had that right from the very beginning. So we did all our fertilizing with, and of course when we did precision farming, because you can't put crop sensors on here, we had another small sprayer we added just to do our weed control with precision farming. And of course our trusty old Kubota here, which still, even to this day, I still use to do all our chores up at the farm shop. Down here at the cow farm, the big addition down here obviously was the pig food production that we put in. It doubled too. It acts like a silo, so you can take back out of it, unlike other productions. Was particularly handy for the sugar beets, and then for temporary storage. Like I said, when we were working down here, I would just throw things in here if it was compatible and haul them out later. So this worked out really well. this particular mod for manufacturing pig food. There's quite a few others out there that work pretty well too, but I do like the fact that you can take back out of this one. But that was the major add down here. Everything else is pretty much as is. We have our milk tanker and our small ridge tractor, and we bought that simply because it's the only tractor I could find at the time that we could use to pull our seed tender because of the way the pipe comes out. We didn't use the seed tender a lot, but it is handy when we did need it. We did use it some. And tucked away in here, we have a telehandler. We used it a lot more in the beginning when we were doing a lot more bale work by hand and using the mixing wagon. But nice piece of gear. And then our haying gear, which we did upgrade our baler. We went from round bales to square bales just because of the size. The windrower kept. I did at some point upgrade this trailer from the crampy one just because it had a little bit more capacity for feeding the cows. Really wasn't too much of an upgrade. Then of course when we went to square bales, we had to buy a new stacker and the infamous Cheedy auto-load bale trailer that I didn't use on camera, but I would use off camera just to speed things up. Like I showed you a lot of times just for fun maps, I will stack everything in the field and then use the telehandler and the auto-load feature on here to load the bales up. But that's it for pretty much around the cow farm here, and that kind of finishes off the majority of our equipment. So I'll meet you down at the BGA. We're down here at the BGA. The first thing we added in here was this fermenting silo. This was a Omatana one again, I believe. And we did this originally to ferment grass for our biogas plant over here. We haven't been using it recently. There is still some silage in here, 93,000 liters that I just didn't bother selling off, but I haven't been hauling, like I said, out of here. I've been hauling from up on top to keep it running up at the farm. But this biogas plant, we started with just running silage and then a little manure. And then when we got the sugar beets, we started running cut sugar beets through it. What size is this? 250 kilowatt. Let's take a look. What is that sucker worth? Oops, wrong. No, that's the first one. 435,000. Well, like I said, just the biogas plant on itself isn't, isn't fantastic. Let's put it that way. What we were making now, keeping it running 24/7, now that the cows and pigs are providing enough manure, and of course we have plenty of sugar beets and silage, is we make $30,000 to $35,000 in a month. So I guess that's what, about a year, a little bit more than a year, and it pays for itself if you're purchasing it. So I guess it's not too bad. But where it really knocks it out of the park is the digestate when you couple it with this dryer we put in. Now there is no two ways about it. This dryer is cheaty. But it didn't have as big an impact to us in the beginning simply because, it'll hold just over 20,000 liters of digestate and 20,000 liters of slurry, but it will turn that into fertilizer like in less than a day here on the farm. And as you know, you can sell fertilizer for a pretty good dollar. But it didn't have that big impact when we first put it in, because even now, from that running 24/7 on the 3 products, we get 10,000 liters of digestate in a day. So that'll make one day 5,000 liters of fertilizer. And when I first put it in, I was only bringing down about 6,500 or a little over 6,000 liters of slurry in a month, in 2 days on the farm. So it was restricted by the incoming products that we had. So yeah, it still made us money, but it wasn't crazy. But as the cows and pigs came online and we got more slurry. So I'm bringing down about 14,000 liters of slurry a day. Still only get the 10,000 liters of digestate, but like I said, for the last few days I've been topping it up with 10,000 liters out of the farm silo, or for not the farm production, largely because we knew we were coming to the end here. I wanted to get us over the hump on the alone, because I knew we had the horses in and we had our oats, and I have been suffering with numerous game crashes on here, and it was telling me it was time to move on. So I kept pouring the coals to this and taking advantage of the cheating nature here, particularly towards the end. But before that, I wasn't topping the digestate up at all. So it's just the income has slowly been going up from it on a daily basis, just because we had more pigs come on and more cows, we got more slurry to put in here. But our digestate's been fairly constant up until recently. And I do want to reiterate, it's not a problem with giants or not a problem with the map. It's a problem with Farmer Murphy. I updated the map when a new game save was required. I updated it accidentally. And up until the Platinum expansion, everything was fine. But after that, it started crashing like crazy. But to be fair, so were the other maps. It wasn't just on here. It just had more on here than the other maps I was playing. Once they brought the update to the DLC here a few weeks ago, the other maps have quieted right down, getting relatively few crashes, but they're still happening frequently on here. And when you're trying to record, man, it makes it a challenge. Like when I was mowing the grass this last round, I had 3 crashes during the mowing and 2 crashes during the liming. And I try and save as often as I can, but you know, if you're actually recording and that happens, it can be a bit of a nightmare. Anyway, sorry, I got off topic there. That's our sugar beet. That's probably our last piece of equipment, our sugar beet cutting trailer that we had. We didn't go through a ton of sugar beets with this. I filled it. I think this is the 3rd trailer load that I filled, but I just left it sit down here and I top up the sugar beets every day. All right. So I think that covers it down here. And like I said, these mods that are, that are cheaty, you don't have to use them in a cheaty fashion. Like our farm production can be relatively cheaty, but I chose not to use it in a cheaty fashion because I had the dryer that I was kind of taking advantage of, particularly towards the end. Anyways, we're going to head up to my favorite place on the map, the one I most enjoyed doing, and I think it was a real highlight, our farm shop. So I'll meet you up there. Well, we made a pit stop here at the pig enclosure because I should show you this, because this was a change I made. I wanted to utilize all the in-game animal pens, but also from the pigs I wanted the slurry and the manure. And so this is the solution I came up with, is I put this fenceless pig husbandry in here. And as you know, I brought all the adult pigs are here, so they're maximizing slurry and manure, and then all the babies I throw down here in the pasture where there is no slurry or manure from these pigs. And I was pretty happy with the way this turned out. If we go in construction mode, you can see that there are pigs all over the place. There still is a bit more of a concentration here, obviously, because this brown area is the only place they have to go, and there's 3/4 of the pigs are there, but there's still a nice spattering around, and so I was pretty happy with the way that turned out. So and also, if we were carrying on in here, we could have a fair number of pigs, which would manure-wise, we don't really need any more manure. I actually make enough manure now every day that I'm selling 2,000 or 3,000 liters off when I take it to the BGA. But we could start running slurry through the BGA as well as the dryer if we, if and when we had more pigs. Actually, there's one more thing maybe we'll stop and take a quick look at, because it's just something I did a little bit differently than others that I saw playing on this map. And almost everybody took advantage of what kind of universally became known as a secret field here. But most people made an entrance over here by the horse pen. And they came in from that way, put a gate or something. And I made my entrance here, so we got in from field 23. Right in here. So I made this entrance just to do something different, and I had to buy field 23 at the time. We didn't own it, and I nipped the corner out of it to make an approach in here. But what that had the impact is then it really made sense for us to own field 23 here, and that really drove our expansion. If we take a look in the map, as you may recall, down in this area rather than up over here or into field 1. That's kind of what drove us to come down this way, because I thought it really made sense that we would own 23, because that's where that approach is. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I should have mentioned it earlier, is that one of the things we accomplished is we took and plowed these fields out. This field here, the secret field, the one by the shop, and this was like field 4, which was an original grass field. Well, we didn't plow out the grass field, but the other ones we plowed out and turned into proper fields, and that gave us about 20% extra grass production just doing that. The first year we actually ran out of grass, if you may recall, and we were close on the second year, but when contracts started kind of showing up a bit more again, they're just going to cut across the crops here. I'm sure they won't mind. Well, this is weeds. When the contract showed up again, that's when we really got ahead of steam on the grass. But also getting the extra 20% off those fields really helped by turning them into proper fields. Now this area here, it had you may recall it had a couple trees on it, but we had access to it, kind of like the secret field. And there weren't a lot of people doing much with it. And I really don't know what inspired me. I honestly, maybe because I was watching Clarkson Farm at the time, I think maybe I decided, well, I'm going to put a farm shop in here just for something to do, you know, and to be interesting. And you know what? It turned out to be kind of one of my favorite places here on the farm. I'm not an artistic person at heart. Like, I struggle with a stick person if I'm trying to draw it, but I thought I was pretty pleased with the way this turned out, and just like how it looked, you know, the decorations, and then basically how it ended up working. It turned out to be a little gold mine, and I don't really consider it cheaty at all, because nothing particularly fast, but these are all Omatana mods. That's why I call it the Omatana gold mine, but they all just work really well together. So you may recall in the beginning, this garden here had strawberries in it, and we were just selling those off. We weren't doing anything with them. This one had potatoes. This one up there, that is sunflowers now, was sunflowers. This one is a lettuce and tomatoes. And these were original. Now, the lettuce and tomatoes kept the production here, the Omatama production, going full-time on mixed salads. The one garden of sunflowers did not keep it running 100% on sunflower oil. We just get an occasional pallet. The potatoes, one garden of potatoes though, however, did keep it running on premium potatoes and French fries it was making. When the cows came on, we started bringing our milk up here, and that was kind of another driving thing. Wanted something to do with the milk, and there's no productions on here. Our cows made nowhere near enough milk to keep the production's running. When I first started, I think I was just making cheese. I wasn't even making anything else. As we got more mature cows, I added butter to that, and then the ice cream, because I started sending the strawberries over here rather than selling them, because when we had sugar beets, I got the idea of making cake. So I brought the excess sugar beets up here, and we always had, right from that point on, tons of sugar beets, so I was always selling excess sugar. I made as much as I could, and I sold it off. But it wasn't until this year we had enough cows that we could make ice cream full time, that we could make butter full time, that we could make milk or ice cream and butter and cheese. That was the other one I was struggling to find. That whenever I would come up, like if we look now in here, what have we got for milk still in here? I know what's there. 5,600 liters, and it's the end of the day. It's got to go through the night. I still every day haul up the milk from our cows and don't have any excess, so we're not making any extra milk. But that just started happening, where I would come up and the milk productions were still running, basically this spring. So that really helped, because then we were always making butter, cheese, ice cream, and it got so I could sell the butter then. I didn't have to just save it because we were making it all the time, so I got to start selling the butter. And then when the spring came up and we got all that barley contracts and our barley, it meant I could do the same with the flour. Before, I would just make enough flour to make the bread and the cake. It was really didn't have enough barley to make anything extra. So really upped what we were making here when we could sell now excess sugar, excess flour, and excess butter. And when I went and put these 3 gardens on sunflowers, now it could make sunflower oil. It never ran out of sunflower, basically. This one garden down at the end, I would still throw on strawberries once in a while when we needed strawberries. This middle one, I would still throw on potatoes, but we also did that potato harvest, so for quite a while I haven't had to do that. So we've just been building up sunflowers for when I have to go, if we were staying, when I'd had to go back and throw potatoes on here once in a while. So because of those changes, basically our cows coming up and the contracts and our increased acreage in barley really amped up what we could make here and sell off. Might as well walk around. We had put in this distributor, as you may recall. Was a bit surprised that we had to it kept emptying out, but it distributed to the farm shop or farm production, as you recall, down below, and it holds 2 million liters. But I still every day just top it up with this water tanker. I left the standpipe here, and I just come around and use that trick I showed you and top it up. It doesn't take that long, and it distributes water everywhere. But yeah, I know I said it, I'll say it again. Really like how this turned out. I really think it fits in well with the map, and I really didn't envision it being quite the little gold mine it is. We're making 150,000 I think a month off of this now, something like that, with everything we have to sell. And that's it. That's what went on in Calmsden. That's how we got out of debt. Basically, the dryer and this, and this area here pretty much, I think it takes more credit than the dryer actually did. But there's the sun going down on Calmsden, and we are going to ride off into the sunset and head off to Bloomfield. And like I said, doing something I think totally different on there. So I encourage you to come and join us on there. It's going to be fun. I'm going to have fun anyways. And once again, if you're still with me, really appreciate you watching. Hit that old like and subscribe button if you haven't already. And encourage you to hit the old notification bell when you see when other content lands. But for now, I'm just going to sit here and enjoy the last sunset here on Calmsden, and we'll meet you all on the next one. Take care.